right, looks like we're live. I'm just going to make sure Facebook is going.
Okay.
All right, we are all set. Perfect. All right. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this Westy Live Wednesday edition. My name is Jamie Chavez. I'm the president and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and every Wednesday we bring to you a live broadcast featuring one of our newest chamber members to introduce them and give them a chance to tell you about their business. If you're new to the broadcast, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. I encourage you to like our Facebook page so that you'll get notifications for when we go live in the future. And if you're on YouTube, you can hit subscribe. And you can also explore all of our previous broadcasts there as well. And there are lots to know. We also offer broadcasts on Mondays, which are dedicated to city updates from councilors, mayor pro tem, and other city officials. So those broadcasts are a chance to hear all about what's going on down at City Hall, so that we hope that you will tune in for those as well. And then we also do once a month interviews with Jefferson County Commissioner Rachel Zenzinger, and we're going to be adding Adams County Commissioner Steve Odorizio to those as well. So stay tuned for those for broader county matters. And as you watch the broadcast this morning, we encourage you to engage, say hello, ask any questions, drop any comments, and we'll get to those during the interview. And now a warm welcome to Alex from Covertech. How are you today?
Oh, not too bad. It's we're almost halfway through Tuesday, so we're on our way, and so I can't complain too much.
That's true. Yeah, we're getting there. Although, did you say Tuesday or Wednesday?
Or Wednesday. I guess it's Wednesday now.
I was like, don't put us back a day.
So even better, we're halfway through the week then.
Yes, we are. In another hour, we will be exactly halfway. Yeah. Good morning, Dave. Thanks for joining us. All right. Well, Alex, I'll just hand it right over to you and let you talk about Covertech and give us all of the details about your business.
Sounds good. So my name is Alex with Covertech IT, and I am the Chief Technical Officer over here. And basically what Covertech IT does is we support small businesses in Westminster, Denver metro area, and beyond with IT, cybersecurity, and compliance. So, for example, medical offices have certain compliance standards that they have to adhere to. We can help make sure their tech stack's in line there. But a little bit about us and how we got started is me and Tony have been doing this and doing IT for over 35 years. And basically, we've just seen a lot of things where they could be done better, or there were some funny shenanigans going on in the background. So after doing this for so many years, we basically decided, okay, it's time for us to start our own thing and to make sure we take extra good care of our customers and our partners. And so that's kind of how we got started. And so we launched our journey back in January, and slowly but surely just building up. And that's kind of how we got started. Officially, I've been doing IT myself for 8 years now. Unofficially, I've been doing it since I was in diapers. So.
What do you mean by that? What was your very first IT project?
So my very first IT project was I used to have a little Game Boy, and for anyone that's old enough to remember those things, like they didn't have a backlight, so you'd be constantly straigning your neck to try and be able to get just the right angle so you could actually see the thing. So the first thing I did is I actually modified the Game Boy so it had a backlight, so you could actually see it in the dark, kind of like the later advanced versions had. So my old original Game Boy, I did that on it. And then I also modified it to use a lithium ion battery instead of the double A's, because this is another thing these kids don't have to worry about nowadays. I used to remember having, like, when I first got it, I'd have to figure out some way to beg mom to get another pack of double A's so I could keep playing my Game Boy, until I figured out, okay, it makes a lot more sense just to modify it, put this battery in here, and call it a day.
That's crazy. Good for you.
So I don't know. I've just always been wired for computers and engineering and kind of that stuff, and just so it was just a natural fit to tried a couple other things and then just settled on IT, and here I am.
Awesome. Very cool. So is Covertech a franchise, or did you guys launch this from scratch?
Yep, we launched it from scratch because we wanted to make sure that we could take very good care of our customers. And so we launched this as its own independent thing. Now that being said, we do have some security vendors and stuff like that we do work with. Because I'm pretty good, but I can't build it, for example, an antivirus from scratch and stuff like that. But
Come
yes,
on,
the company
Alex.
itself is. I'm good. But it'll take me a few years. It would slow down the business development a little bit
All
to do
right.
the other part.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So what's the core mission or philosophy that drives Covertech every day?
Yep. So just kind of our mission or the slogan we tend to go by is we cover your tech so you can focus on your business. And what that means is that we are trying to get ahead of as many of your IT issues as possible so that from your perspective, your IT just works. Your IT should accelerate your business. It should make things easier for your business. You shouldn't have to be fighting with it nonstop. If you're fighting with it nonstop, then you have another issue or issues that need to be addressed because they're actually hindering your business operations. They're potentially hindering your sales process, or they're taking one of your employees away from doing productive things. Like if your salesperson is running around fixing computers all day, then they're not doing sales. If your or whatever position is running around doing that, they're not doing what their job role entails, and so it's actually costing you even more money because that person is not able to do their job as well as the other person that's running around having to not do their job as well to fix whatever problems you have.
Right. Yeah.
So
So what makes Covertech unique compared to other IT service providers around here?
I would say a couple of our differentiators are one, we're local, so you don't have to worry about having to call in and then you're reaching some guy overseas that barely speaks any English, and I'm sure we've all had that support experience. So you're not going to have to worry about that. We are local here in Denver or the Denver metro area. We're based out of Thornton and Westminster, so we're kind of right there on the border. Um, so we're local. We're not. You don't have to worry about that. Another differentiator is that we are also able to do the compliance piece. So one of the things that people often forget on cybersecurity is your compliance portion. For example, if you take credit card payments, you have to be PCI compliant.
Oh gosh, I
Um,
have so many questions about this. I'm so glad you brought this up. Keep going.
so, well, we might have a conversation after this, but
Yeah.
anyways.
Yes.
So there's a bunch of stuff you have to do there. So it's kind of in a traditional IT journey on the infrastructure side, which is more where we focus. The first step is kind of learning how to fix something that's broken. The second piece is learning how to engineer and build solutions so that they don't break as often and they're as reliable as possible. The next portion is learning how to kind of secure everything and make sure that they don't leave vulnerabilities. And then the next step from there is to actually align it with all the compliance stuff, because what people don't realize is like PCI, HIPAA, et cetera, they all have certain requirements. So for example, with PCI, they require that you, I'm going to use the SAQBC, which is the one that most businesses have to worry about, unless you're like a payment processor or for some reason you still have a server that's running your credit card. I really hope you're not doing that in 2025, but anyways, semantics aside, basically the main things you have to worry about in 2025 for PCI is you have to have some kind of anti-phishing, which is kind of like the Nigerian Prince emails where someone's trying to scam you with email. So you need to have some kind of protection and training against for that. You need to have antivirus installed. You need to have a good firewall that's configured correctly. And then you need to have some sort of logging for what's going on the computer. And that's kind of slightly oversimplified, but those are kind of some of the most important things for PCI. And then another thing you also need to keep in mind is when you have a guest network at your business, it needs to be fully separate from your main network. So anyone that's on the guest network can't reach anything that has the payment processor's cards on it, wherever you put those. Just to kind of list a few things there.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, the reason that I had to have questions about this, I have a small business, and this is something that I need to do because I take credit card payments, and I've attempted to do this, and it just doesn't seem like something that any lay person can do. And so instead, I'm just paying a fee because I don't want to lie because I don't know how to answer any of the questions.
No worries.
So I guess I need your help with that. So this
Mhm.
is great.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm always happy to help, and that's kind of what we're here for. Because
Yeah.
I'll admit all those documents are in very strong legalese. So
Yeah.
we try and translate that into something that's a little bit easier for the business people to actually understand and be able to use.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. This is great to know. Okay, we can move on. um, so you mentioned cybersecurity somewhat, but I think it's top of mind for many businesses. So what are some common
Hmm.
mistakes that you see that small businesses make in this area?
Yep. So one of the things I would probably call right off the bat is um, most people are using like really old school antiviruses, and I'm just going to pick on like Norton, for example, on this one. The problem is with that one is nowadays the antivirus or any virus that is going to be able to or most modern viruses will modify themselves. So just the nature of how those old antiviruses work is that if they are not updated in real time, they don't look as much on the behavior side. They look for uh, you can kind of think of like any program when you make it, it has a signature, and that's how they track it. They don't really offer any more advanced. So when you're looking for an antivirus, you always want to make sure it either has the terms EDR, Endpoint Detection and Response, or NGAV, Next Gen Antivirus,
Very
somewhere in their
awesome.
products SKU, because that means that it's actually going to look for the behaviors and anything that's modifying and changing, rather than being the old school models, which nowadays are pretty easy to get around. I also wouldn't recommend using just trusting Windows Defender by itself. Windows Defender nowadays is actually really, really good, and it's the one that's by default on your computer. But the problem is it's the default. So any bad actor, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to just run some things to disable Windows Defender. And if it can't beat Windows Defender, then it's not a very successful virus. So it's kind of one of those things you always need to have something that backs it up. Or if you're going to use Windows Defender, then you need to have something like Huntress, which will actually watch for any modifications being done to Windows Defender and then make sure to revert them unless they're intentional. Another very common or important one is you can't just use like the Comcast or a CenturyLink, or I would not recommend using like a default router. The reason being is while they offer great services, one of the problems they tend to have is their goals are usually to reduce support tickets rather than ensure security. So, for example, they will tend to leave certain security features on that leave security vulnerabilities. And unfortunately, unless you know what you're looking for, it's very hard to catch them. So you
Mhm.
always want to make sure you have something better on the firewall side than just the default from the internet service provider.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
Sorry, I think I got kind of lengthy there.
That's okay. Yeah. Any other mistakes that you see small businesses making?
Yep. So another one that's I've seen a lot of recently is, and this also kind of ties back into PCI compliance because you're supposed to change all the default passwords. Old HP and other printers, kind of going back to that internet service provider example, they will basically what they'll do with one of the protocols in the back end is they'll actually create a hole in the network so that it can communicate with like HP print anywhere services and for the ink and a bunch of other stuff. So if you leave that default password in, the bad guys can potentially access the printer and then
Hmm.
from there use that because it's basically just a small computer underneath it. So they can then use that to then go after other devices on your network and kind of go from there. Because even like for example, modern HP, that's only a 8 character little pin. It's like if you open up the panel, the pin right there is going to usually be the default password, and
Mhm.
so they only have to um, like once an hour take 3 guesses until they get the right number, which is
That's
only
super
going to probably take them a couple days.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Also very good to know. Thank you. So what's a kind of a current trend in either IT or cybersecurity that businesses need to be paying attention to?
Yep, I would say the biggest one to keep in mind, or the I would say is a pretty common thing is the PCI guidelines actually just updated in September. So one common thing that people are missing right now is they don't realize that they actually now need to have some kind of anti-phishing protection or training in place, because it's a new part of the PCI requirements that applies to pretty much every business. Another thing that people often don't realize is PCI requires more than just using a vendor that's PCI compliant, because a large portion of it is also protecting the devices around your like credit card scanners or whatever the case may be. Because that's kind of your portion of it, is you have to secure those devices so that they can't be compromised to compromise the processor's network.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this in simpler terms, because I'm starting to realize it's starting to come out a little bit as word salad.
Word salad. Yeah. No, this is great. Yeah, I'm following. We're good. So how do you help companies prepare for unexpected disruptions like data breaches or system outages?
Yep. So there's multiple different ways we can do it. There's always going to be the proactive versus the reactive approach. So the proactive approach is making sure that all your security stuff is set up, and then we can actually put in tools in place, for example, that will send an alert if you're, for example, sending suspicious amounts of data to an unusual location. That might be an indicator that someone's trying to extract information out of your network or your device. But we can also do things like we can also set up backups, so that if one of your systems goes down, they can fail over to that system. Or we can also create just a data backup where, for example, let's just say your server went down or one of your laptops went down or whatever the case may be. We could still have all the files in place. We just have to put them on the new device.
Got it. Okay.
So there's multiple different ways we can do that. It's kind of a case by case basis, because we're not, and that's kind of another differentiator, is we're not just going to force a solution in your business. We're going to try and find the one that works best for your business.
Okay. Do you have a success story that, or like a case study that you can share where you've helped a business overcome like a major IT challenge?
Yeah. So let's see here. I haven't confirmed. I can. So I'll just say we just recently helped out a church. So basically, nowadays people don't think about it, but churches nowadays are actually very technologically, or have a lot more tech requirements than they used to, because now they have to do streams, they have to do all the stuff, they have tons of audio visual equipment, so on and so forth. So basically, what they were doing is they were trying to run, I think it was like 250 devices off of a single hockey puck sized little router that you would get from AT&T. So they're just running it off of basically a little mobile hotspot. And it was just causing kind of all kinds of problems. We were able to get in there and put in a proper firewall and then configure everything else. While we were doing that, we also noticed that they helped set up multi-factor authentication into their Google environment. And basically we made a bunch of their security problems go away. And then also their some of the things they noticed on the networking side is they noticed that all the hiccups in their streams went away. They noticed that their downloads and uploads actually doubled because there's actually proper equipment in place. And then their environment was now compliant with all the different standards they had, because they also had a preschool that they run as well. So there's some additional compliance requirements there, and so everything now works as anticipated and is also compliant. So they don't have to worry about the worries of an auditor coming in and potentially finding something not to be in line or compliant.
Okay. A lot of our chamber members are small to mid-sized businesses. So how does your service specifically help businesses like these grow and stay secure?
Yep. So we make sure that once you're one of our clients, we make sure that we take a proactive approach to your IT. So we do a few different things. One, we're going to do a free evaluation when we first walk in. We're going to spot any problems that we can see right off the bat. and we're going to make sure that we address them as quickly as possible. And with our service plans, we make sure that as much as possible is bundled into that price so that you don't have to worry about additional surprise billing like you will with a lot of our competitors. Because we also know that that's a huge concern with small business owners is there's a lot of vendors that they'll walk in, they won't tell you the price tag, and then they'll send you a bill for obscene amounts of money because they just didn't tell you what the pricing was up front. We're not that company. We're going to be transparent throughout the entire process and work with you. We're going to make sure that we do after the evaluation, we're going to remedy all the security vulnerabilities we find. We're also going to optimize all the systems we can so that they operate more efficiently so that you and your workforce and your team can be more effective. And then, yeah, we're just really passionate about helping any small business that we can and making sure just their IT works, their cybersecurity is good, and they don't have to worry about a QSA, which is the technical term for an auditor walking in one day and saying, I'm here for an audit, and then everyone turning pale. You don't have to worry about that because we're going to make sure everything's squared away.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. So what's next for Covertech? Do you have any exciting new services or partnerships or goals that you've got on the horizon?
So right now we're just kind of slowly but surely we're still in the early phases. So we're still slowly growing. We're getting more and more customers. I really probably should have asked some people if I could have listed names before hopping on this broadcast, but that's kind of part of IT is discretion. So I will, and that's kind of another thing we'll do is we'll be very discreet. But so far, like if you check our Google reviews, we have all 5-star reviews. We're committed to making sure that we take care of everyone, and then we are partnering and working with a bunch of different industries at the moment, ranging everywhere from saloons to small medical offices, all the way to a hotel. Some of the stuff we're working on, and we were just gonna keep on growing and keep on working on it.
Awesome. How do you see the role of IT evolving in the next 5 years, specifically for like businesses in our community?
I would say it's going to become increasingly an important role. It's not something I think is going to go away anytime soon because you can't really automate someone to run out and set up all the tech. So that's something that, and I know everyone's kind of scared with AI and everything else. There's still going to be there's going to be things where AI is going to help out in areas, but there's also things that AI is still really bad at doing. So that's going to be kind of the next leg of the journey. I think what we're going to see is how AI and how it shapes IT moving forward. Would also anticipate that we're going to continue seeing more security threats, especially to small businesses. So just kind of some fun statistics for you. 47% of bad actors actually target small businesses because they tend to have less security measures than larger companies. And then on average, the cost of breach for a small business is $174,000, and 60% of those small businesses are forced to close within 6 months. So we just want to make sure that never happens. We want to make sure that your business continues to thrive and grow for many, many, many years to come. And so that's kind of why we're so passionate about cybersecurity and compliance side, because it's not only about keeping your doors open, but the lights on. Because if you can't take customers for a week, well, you're getting all your cybersecurity stuff resolved. That some small businesses might not be able to recover from that.
Yeah. If you could give every business owner in Westminster one tech tip, what would it be?
I could go with the standard when in doubt, restart, but
That's always my approach.
That does fix a lot of IT issues. But from the cybersecurity front, I would recommend having at least an antivirus and at least a good firewall in place at your business. I would say that is the minimum when it comes to security, as well as the minimum bare bones for compliance with all the different frameworks.
Got it. Okay. And maybe talk a little bit more about like your team there and your company culture, so people can get a feel for inside Covertech.
Yep. So I'll admit right now it's just me and Tony, but basically my job is to do most of the technical stuff and make sure that everything works and is secure. And then Tony's the people person. So he's a lot more sociable than I am. I can sometimes be a little socially awkward. I'll admit that. But anyways,
I think it might be like a part of your industry.
maybe just a smidge. But yeah, and I'll admit, like right now, since we just started, it's very much a startup culture of just the two of us putting on as many hats as we need to in order to get this thing off the ground. But we are also passionate as we continue to grow. We want to, like, when we start hiring people, we want to make sure that we guide them and take them under our wing and make sure that we kind of teach the next generation, because that's also another gap in the IT side. Is everyone kind of expects every level 1 technician that came fresh out of school or just getting started to be equivalent to a senior level engineer, which it's just not going to happen. It's just not possible. There's tens of thousands of things to learn in IT. So it's kind of just going to be making sure that we guide the next generation and help make sure that they grow and improve and continue helping other businesses as well as growing their own career. So that's kind of one of the things we're very passionate about as we continue to grow, is not only making sure that we're successful, but the next generation of technicians are also successful.
Awesome. Great. Well, you guys have certainly done a fantastic job of jumping into the chamber and getting involved. You're both working towards the ambassador program, so that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And you come to a lot of events, so it's really good to learn more about your business and what you guys do. And I think that this will be useful information for people. So thank you. We have a couple minutes left if you have anything else that you want to mention?
Not that I can think of at the moment, but I guess, Siri, is there anything in chat? Nope, doesn't look like it.
No. Yep. How do people get a hold of you?
Yep. So you can get a hold of us a couple different ways. You can either email me directly at alex@covertechit.us, or you can also give us a call at, brain fart. Oh man, I have not had enough coffee today.
Not to hurry. Also, your information is linked on the chamber directory, so people can find you that way if they do want to give you a call. But I put your email address in here as well, so people will have
Sounds good. Yep. Yeah. And then probably the best phone number to reach us is 720-508-3205.
Awesome. Great. I'll put that up here too.
Yep. I pulled a brain fart on which was my number and which was the main company number. So
yeah, yep. This happens to me too, because I've got 3 numbers that I operate with on a regular basis. So I'm constantly giving out the wrong number. Yeah. All right. Well, definitely appreciate having you on this morning and getting this information out to people. I think it's really useful. So thank you for that. And thank you for everybody that joined us this morning, and hope that everybody enjoys the rest of your week.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Have a good one.